Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Fair Life with Andrew McKee. Uh, I'm having a little bit of a problem with YouTube right now, so we may not have a YouTube feed, unfortunately. Yeah, it's not letting me verify. It's a long story, but essentially, it's not letting me set it up. When I get to the whole go live thing, it says, no, we've got to verify it to you. It's all really weird. I think it's just because I'm traveling and I'm at a new location, but that really shouldn't make a difference. At least it hasn't before. So it's just an annoyance. I'm going to look into it and get it fixed. But yeah, but Facebook seems to be fine, and that's good. It does seem like I have a pretty good internet connection here, so once again, a little more testing. I'm gonna have to really see what's going on with YouTube, because it's never easy, is it? On the road is always a challenge for the performer, or just Rennie in general, and this is just another good example of that. You plan and you try to get everything set up, and there's always a little thing that goes wrong, but it's okay, because those little things, sure, they can be annoying sometimes even stressful, but the overall is so worth it because it's a lot of fun. It really is. And hello, everyone. Hey, thanks for joining. So yeah, hey, Jan and Damaris and Lisa and Kurt and Kevin and Tanya. And yeah, great to see you. Great to see you. Right? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. At least I have internet, so there is that. So yeah, that is something. Huh. Right. I see that, and I'm not quite sure why. See, I did start the stream, at least, Damaris, so that's kind of why I think it's saying that. But yeah, go if you're available, go check and see if it actually is going on YouTube. I'm not sure, because I actually can't log in and do it and check. Never easy. What is going on? It's also not letting me bring the comments over again. I had that working. Oh, this is not cool. Well, it's always something, but that's okay. We'll just roll with it and go. I have, of course, started the first weekend of the North Dakota Fair last weekend, and overall, a very good weekend. A lot of fun. The people up here, and Drew is saying Facebook did its best not to let him see this video. Well, I appreciate you overcoming Facebook. You know, you went at it and you won. So good job, Drew. But yeah, North Dakota is great. It is, the people here are just wonderful. I mean, just so friendly and welcoming, and I have really enjoyed it. I've also enjoyed the fact that it's over 20 degrees cooler up here than it is down in Austin. So I might be a little biased, but yeah, that is definitely a good strategy for dealing with the heat in the South. Go as far north as you can during the summer. Not gonna lie. Okay, it is going on YouTube, according to Damaris. So it is streaming, but I just can't access it from my setup. Yeah. That actually makes sense, because I did have the proper settings and I sent the stream. It just won't let me log in to view it myself. But oh, never boring. Never boring. Yeah, Dan is saying it got really hot in New Jersey. Yes, I noticed that. That definitely is a thing. It is, yeah, I mean, you're getting definitely some heat problems around the country here and there. Yeah, it definitely is a problem. And I don't know, I'm starting to think I should probably put some weather warnings for the different fairs when I talk about them, because yeah, they're I've talked about this before, talking about rain and whether it's going to be a rain weekend at a fair or not, doing some sort of weather thing, but maybe heat is what I should be actually focusing on. because yeah, the list of fairs, some of them are going to be a little hot, but some of them not. And I'm one of the reasons I like North Dakota up here. It's not. It's going to be fine. It's looking like it might hit 80 degrees on this weekend. Maybe. We'll see. It threatened to do that this last weekend, and it really didn't happen. So not too bad. Of course, it got really windy on Saturday, and that's something I'm not used to dealing with, incredibly strong winds at a fair. It was 25 mile per hour winds here and there. That was a lot. I couldn't play the recorder at all. When it's that windy, it's pretty much impossible. Sunday wasn't a problem. It was still a little windy, but nothing like Saturday. So as long as I faced the right direction, I could play the recorder, and it was okay. So I could switch out. But it was definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. Yeah, and wow, 95 in Chicago. And hey, Kathy. Yeah, Colorado. Yes. You get a lot of bonus cool from the mountains and everything. That definitely helps. Dan, yeah, you never understand how the performers don't pass out in the heat. Part of it is we're used to it, and part of it is we take extra care of ourselves. I mean, one thing I've noticed is that patrons, when they go to Faire, they tend to, well, I mean, when I worked at Six Flags, we always used to joke that guests leave their brains at the front gate when they come in. And that seems to be a thing at Faire as well, where they come in and they're just like, oh, no, I don't have to stress or worry. It's all fantasy. Everything's safe and taken care of. And they don't take care of themselves. They don't drink enough water. They don't worry about staying out of the sun a little bit, getting some shade here and there. And it gets them. I mean, it wears them down. And by the time they notice, it's already too late. I mean, if you're noticing that it's affecting you, you're probably already have at least heat exhaustion or something. So yeah, it is, part of it is training, like temperature training, Kat. Yeah, you're kind of right. But it's also, we go crazy for our 30-minute show, and then boom, we're off the stage, and we're going backstage, and we're drinking lots of water. And we're usually drinking water on stage too, and pretending that it's alcohol. And we're cooling down and trying to take care of ourselves because we know we have to do another show. And it's, yeah, I mean, I think the closest thing I can compare it to for the average person at home is it's like mowing your yard in the heat. If you have a big yard, you don't do it all. You do if it's really hot outside and you have to mow your yard, what do? You do a snippet of it. You do like, you go out there for 20, 30 minutes at the most, and then you stop and you come in and you drink that lemonade or that iced tea and rest, cool down a little bit. Okay, you're feeling okay. Then you go back out and do another 20, 30 minutes or so. And you have to pace yourself. And yeah, I think that's the thing that people don't realize. Yeah, Kat, eat a pickle is a very good one. And Damaris, yeah, linen for the win. We definitely know how to dress. Yeah, you stay away from those synthetic fibers for sure, and really try to get outfits that breathe. Right. Drew's talking about a survival rig, umbrella, water recliner. Yeah, and you've seen me with the pack basket out there. I mean, I think, here, I think I can do that real quick. Oh, there you go. There's a picture of me from this past weekend at the stage. Unfortunately, the picture I found was portrait mode, so it's not widescreen, but you get the idea. That's the stage I'm at, and you can see the pack basket there to the side, and I do the same thing, Drew. I have water and rig it up with water, snacks, and anything I need. And Dan says he doesn't mow his yard in Renaissance garb. You're right. That is smart, I think. Although, a kilt might not be a bad approach. I'm just throwing it out. Right, right. Yes, intelligent human being. We all try. And Greg, yes, partial to linen. Yes, always a good one. Always a good one. You know, you're not wrong, Alacia. Long sleeves are, if they're done right, they can keep the sun off a little bit. It can work. Yeah. Because, you know, the sun hitting your skin, I mean, it definitely affects you. So shade of any kind can be nice. So yeah, that's exactly what Damaris is saying. So yes, we've all kind of gone through that process and know how to combat it. So that's kind of the trick. But the wind is an interesting one. I'm not as used to. I mean, I've got some wind burn on my face. It was different. I mean, that's very strong winds for what I'm used to. It just, you don't see that too much at fairs. I'm sure there are some other fairs that do it and have that. But yeah, this is a bit much for me. Usually high winds at a fair for me, in my experience, has been, you know, it'll hit about 15 miles per hour. That's about the norm at North Dakota, is about 15. And if in the area, North Dakota and Minnesota, and even Iowa, I mean, they have windmills all over the place. Those really big electricity generating windmills, and because of all the wind up there. So it makes sense. Yeah, and totally right, Alacia. You've got to, generally, you're not drinking enough water. I mean, it is rare that any of us are actually drinking enough water. Most of us are trying to keep up, but it's difficult in that situation to drink enough. So always keep that in mind. You can always drink more, and you probably should. Oh yeah, Norman. Yeah, Oklahoma is another windy spot. I've seen that before, but luckily the times of year that I've done fairs up there, because I've actually never done Norman, hasn't been too bad. So I've been pretty lucky with that. Yeah, Damaris. Yeah, the wind can. I think really the trick is, it depends on what you're used to. I mean, if you're used to the cold's not a big deal. If you're used to the rain, so what? I'll get a little wet. No fear, no worry. You know, if you're used to the heat, okay, you know, I've got the right clothes, no problem. But it's the stuff you're not as used to, that's the stuff that feels the most oppressive to you. So I totally get that. Yeah, Kat. Yeah, the sun umbrella. I totally. One thing that at New Jersey that Vince Conaway did that I thought was very interesting was he brought one of those like porch umbrellas that that he just set up, and then set up his own little shady busking spot, and that's where he was most of the day and played in those lanes. And he found a great spot for it, and it worked wonderfully for him. He told me most fairs don't really, he doesn't need that much, that very often, but when it does, could use it, oh, it's so helpful. And that is nice. Yeah, Lisa, West Texas is another one. A lot of windmills over there too. Yeah, sandstorms. You can get that. I have seen that in Arizona. You get a lot of sand and dust because of the wind and the fact that, well, you don't get much grass there. So it can hit you a bit hard. Oh, 80 mile per hour gusts? Wow. I'm assuming that was MPH and not MPG, and the MPG was a typo. But yeah, that's a little nutty. That's like, that's getting to tornado stuff. Oh, Drew? Okay, that's what you do? The two spots, hold it at TRF. Yeah. Oh, and Kurt, you're right. Umbrella doesn't usually work well in the wind. I was talking about New Jersey. I don't think it would have had to have been a special umbrella setup to work well out in North Dakota for him. But yeah, in New Jersey it worked well. And that's what he said. He said at most fairs he hasn't really needed it, but there are a couple, and New Jersey's one of them, where he just says, yeah, it really helped. And it was nice. Yeah, exactly. The miles per gallon goes down too. Right. Sun sensitivity is no joke, and you got to be careful with that. Very much so. One of Another interesting thing that's happened at North Dakota is they changed it. They changed it from last year was in August in the middle, and they changed it to June. And that was an interesting thing because they made that decision, or at least they announced the decision. I'm actually not sure when they made the decision, but they announced the decision in February, which is not a long time before the fair. So several of the performers that were there last year were already booked and couldn't come back. So we got several different performers, and I mean, they had their reasons. I'm not criticizing them for making the move. There were good reasons to do it. So don't get me wrong on that. But you got to do what you got to do. But there definitely were some consequences. But because of that, a lot of new performers, some of whom I hadn't met before, and some I hadn't seen in a while, like the Tortuga twins were there, and that was a lot of fun. So yeah, I mean, it's just never boring and a lot of fun to do that. Sometimes changes are good. So always something to keep in mind. And speaking of that, there was some of you may have noticed some of the stuff going on with the Southeast Texas Renaissance Fair. That is done for the year and possibly done. There was, let's just say the owners did some stuff. And some of the vendors were taken advantage of potentially, and that's so if you see any posts about that and you want to help them, check on that. But it was, I don't know if it's going to come back in any way, shape, or form. I did notice there was some talk about some of the person who owned the land and some of the vendors maybe trying to make something out of it in the future, but we'll see. Yes, Southeast Texas Songbird, as Alicia is saying. If you've done fairs long enough, you've seen it before. And if you remember the last several weeks, I've said that it was really odd seeing a Southeast Texas fair in the summer like this and a new fair doing it for 7 weekends or whatever they were trying to do it for. That was something just didn't feel right about it. And I guess there were a lot of things not right about it. So that happens. Yeah, Kat, you saw that. There was a statement by the landowners, and it was interesting. It sounds like people got taken advantage of and lied to, but I wasn't there, so I'm just reporting what I've heard. But just something to be aware of. Alicia was telling me before that, boy, it would be nice. What you need to do is you really need to research, before you do a fair, research the owners and the entertainment director and all of that. And my response was, I wish it was easier, because a lot of times you can't find out who the owners are for a new event. They don't put it on the website. They don't advertise it. It's not on the Facebook page. And most of the people involved can't even tell you. And often it's hard to find the entertainment director of a fair until you've just sent a basic message to whatever email is listed on the website, or a form, and you get a response. It's weird how the main people who are running a fair often aren't listed anywhere. That's not true for all fairs. Some fairs list them, but I know Light's just saying we need a review site for fairs. I've wanted to do that for years, and it might still be something I do someday, but it definitely would help. Yeah. Right. Shower houses and campground amenities. Yeah, I mean, I know how I always wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it more like a travel guide as opposed to a review site. That way, I mean, it would be easy to read between the lines and say that, okay, that's what they're saying. This is what you need to watch out for. Well, that's what the review says. But yeah, Lisa, you're right. Just finding a central spot for info is hard. You're not wrong. It really is frustrating. it's a frustrating process. And I also, I don't want to be too hard on all the fairs either, because certainly it's not easy to get all that information up. And when you already don't have enough people to do the bare minimum that you have to do for a first year fair, or even a second year fair most of the time, you're still just, it's an uphill battle. How much do you worry about details like that? And I get it, but it's also hard to find information about who owns a fair that's been out for 20 years, or the entertainment director, their name at a fair that's been around for 20 years. It's hard for that, and that is where I'm kind of like, that's a little weird. That's a little weird. It's kind of like they just want to either distance themselves, give them some insulation, and avoid people trying to harass them outside of the business area. I remember talking to some entertainment directors in the past who said that they were sick of people just bugging them on Facebook chat, trying to get a gig. They wanted to separate their personal life from their work life. And I get that. But yeah, I mean, I think it is kind of, you are who you are. And you kind of jumped into that. Oh, right. Sci-fi cons, Lisa. Yeah, you're totally right. That's the same thing there. That's even more, that's even more difficult. Yeah, Damaris was just word of mouth. Yeah, and it's even stranger when you hear bad stuff about someone from one person, and then you hear raving reviews about the same person from another person. And you're just kind of like, how do you resolve that? And if both of those people, like for me, if both of them were entertainers, and one is like saying, oh my gosh, this entertainment director is wonderful, they are the best, and this other person is saying, yeah, they really shouldn't be an entertainment director. I mean, yeah, I really shouldn't. And you're just kind of like, what do you do with that? So it's not easy sometimes. It definitely isn't. So yeah, it's something that instead of having to go through bunches of Reddit posts just to try to find information out about a fair, there should be an easier way. So that's definitely something that at Life's a Fair we're going to be looking at. True. Very true. It is something I've been thinking about for a while. Not going to lie. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump and do the fair list, since, it's already 7:25 or something. So yeah, here we go. It again, not as big as it usually is. It's starting to dwindle a little bit since we're starting to hit the middle of the summer, getting close to that. Middle of the summer, it starts to not be many fairs. Back in the day, it was mainly just Colorado. You had Colorado and in July, and that was it. or mostly it. There weren't really many fairs going on in the summer. That's changed a bit, mainly because there are so many fairs now that you have to put them somewhere. But yeah, let's take a look and see, and get my let's get this laser pointer, at least if that works today. Yay, it seems to be working. Okay, we're good. That's good. Okay, that's something. Now let's go ahead and start off with Robin Hood's Medieval Fair in Harwinton, Connecticut, right down here. That is the 6th out of 7 weekends, so just 2 more weekends left, and the theme is Time Travelers, 1.21 gigawatts of fun. An obvious reference to Back to the Future there, but yeah. And yes, jumping up to the Vermont Renaissance Fair in Essex Junction, Vermont. That is just the 1 weekend coming up. And going down to New Jersey. Yeah, back to New Jersey, yeah. This is the Wheaton Arts Festival Fair in Millville, New Jersey. Just, again, the 1 weekend. And I have heard some good things about that one. So I'll be checking that one out a little bit too and doing some research. Jumping over to West Virginia, we have the West Virginia Renaissance Festival in Lewisburg, West Virginia. This is the third weekend out of 4, and the theme is Vikings Valhalla. So, obviously Vikings. And going over to the Kentucky Highland Renaissance Festival in Eminence, Kentucky. And this is almost the halfway point, weekend 4 out of 8. And the theme is Fools, Villains, Heroes, and Steampunk. Because I think they just had way too many themes. So they just bunched them all together. Fools, Villains, Heroes, and Steampunk. Okay. Then going over to the Ohio Viking Festival in Cortland, Ohio. This is a 3-day weekend. But just the one weekend. So Viking Festival. Going down to the White Hart Renaissance Fair in Hartville, Missouri. This is the last weekend, 3 out of 3 weekends. Closing weekend is the theme for Saturday, and they split them up. So Sunday they have Platron's Day is the theme. So obviously everybody dress up. Oh, okay, Dan's talking about the New Jersey one. At the Wheaton Glass property, which has lots of cool stuff outside the fair. Yeah. That's kind of what I've heard. I've heard some good things about it, so I'm going to look into that one. And then jumping up to, I might be a little biased here, a really awesome fair in North Dakota that I happen to be at is the North Dakota Renaissance Festival in Fargo, North Dakota. It is the last weekend, the second weekend. Unfortunately, they went to 2 weekends this year after the move. I'm hoping that that last weekend was well attended, very good, and hopefully this weekend will be 2, and they'll at least jump back to 3, and who knows, maybe 4 weekends next year. I cross my fingers because I like the cool weather up here. So if you're in the area, check it out. Jumping down to the Colorado Renaissance Festival. This is in Larkspur, Colorado, and this is only weekend 2 out of 8. So a lot of weekends left. The theme is Ale and Art Festival, Military Appreciation Weekend. Jumping over to Utah, we have the Woodland Fairy Festival at Gardner Village. This is in West Jordan, Utah, and it's the 6th out of 7 weekends. This is probably the longest running fairy festival I've ever seen, at least that I'm familiar with. Because 7 weekends for a dedicated fairy festival, impressive. So they must be doing pretty good. I know, James Baker. Yes. Wait for it. Yes. It is. I'll get to Alaska. Don't worry. I know. I was surprised too. Then we're going up to Washington State and at the Camlin Midsummer Festival and at the Camlin Medieval Village. Now, this is in Carnation, Washington. And it's only 1 weekend, but this is pretty cool. What they do is they have a living history museum project is what they call it. And it's a recreation of a 14th century medieval village. They have it open, throughout the weekends and week between May and September. But once a month, they put out a little festival just for 1 weekend. So they have one in May, one in June, one in July, one in August, and one in September. And they tend to do it on relevant calendar days that would be relevant to medieval times in some way. And it's very creative. I mean, that's on my list of places to go because that just looks really cool. So I'm definitely checking that out in the not too distant future. Now going down to California, in Corona, California, the Kronberg Renaissance Festival. This is the last weekend, 5 out of 5 week, 5 out of 5, and it is the Baron's birthday celebration is the theme. And then your favorite and mine, Alaska. In Valdez, Alaska, the End of the Road Ren Fair. Now this is 1 weekend only, and this is its 2nd year going on. It is a 3-day weekend, Friday to Sunday, and the theme is pirates. It is obviously a group of people that just love Renaissance festivals and wanted to put this together, and kudos to them. It sounds It sounds great. I don't. It's not very large. It's only its second year, but definitely people that really love doing it, and you can tell. So really exciting. I mean, originally Alaska was just known for the one fair, and now they're starting to spread out. So here's hoping that keeps up. And yeah, hopefully one of these days we'll get up there. That is the dream. I know you're all saying, I want to go there. I know it's not easy, but yeah, I know you're thinking Alaska in June. I want that. I totally get it, but we'll have to see how this fair goes. From what I can tell from the entertainment list, it is all, it seems nobody I've ever heard of. I think they're all either locals for Alaska or maybe some from Washington State. I don't know, but definitely not the main continental U.S. Groups, which makes sense because that's the trick. Getting up there is a process, and so yeah, that's that's your homework for the night. Your homework for the night is to figure out ways to get us all up to that fair. Find creative ways to get up there for not very much money and fairly quickly, because you can't spend 2 weeks on a trip on a steamer ship, so to speak. So yeah. Oh yeah, and I totally agree, Damaris. That's even better. We get to see totally new acts. Every region has their own performers and interesting entertainers and their own qualities. Canadians, Kat, yeah, you might be right. Some of them might be Canadians. I'm not sure. I haven't researched it that closely, but I kind of figure that there's probably enough people in Alaska that most of them are probably Alaskans. Yeah. Yeah, I've always dreamed of doing the performance on the cruise ship on your way up there, and then getting off, doing the fair, and then jumping on the cruise ship and going back. Yeah. James, yeah, there are some Canadian Ren fairs, but that actually gets tough because if you're working in Canada, that can be a bit of a headache to get the paperwork done to be able to do that legally anyway. So yeah, just something to be aware of. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely something to think about. I would love to go up to Alaska at some point, just like I'd love to go to Hawaii and do a fair out there. But we'll see. That's on the list of things to do. Yes, you're not wrong. There are some popping up in Europe. Now, the truth is, they've had European fairs, quote, Renaissance fairs, medieval festivals, things like that, for many, many centuries, usually celebrating something that happened locally, like some historical event, and they'd have a festival that goes on for a day or two where they recreate the battle or, something like that. And it's... yeah, I mean, it's something along those lines, kind of like Civil War reenactments kind of thing. So, but it has historical, and they wear medieval garb or and go all out at it. And so they've had those types of things, but doing more a festival like this is a little different. Yeah, there'd be a lot of interesting things. So yeah, anyway, that's your homework. Find a great way to get up to Alaska. And wow, I think I know what I'm going to have for next week's 7 reasons why doing a fair in Alaska would be awesome. I think it practically writes itself. But yeah. Yeah, Liz, built around wine festivals. Yeah, you get that too. Have to get the handlers. Yes, and always true. Orca's attack ship on the way to a Ren fair. I like it. Okay. Well, anyway, I guess I'm going to call it here because I've actually not I've taken less time than I thought I was going to. I figured it was 7:45 already, but it's not. So we're okay. Yes, that's right. I say 7:45 because in New Jersey, I was on Eastern time, but now I'm in North Dakota, back on the Central time. Yeah, that's right. It's much... I'm so used to Central time. It is strange to not do that. Even though I travel, I'm still so used to Central. I grew up here, and it's, yeah, it's always feels weird to not have it. So it's a weird comfort, but it's there. I can admit it. So anyway, all right, I will let you go. Take care. Have a great week. I have a couple of gigs here in the Fargo area during the week. One tomorrow night at a brewery east of here, and in Minnesota, actually. And another one on Friday at a meadery. So, yeah, beer and mead, that's my week. It's a tough life. So that's what I'm going to be doing before the weekend. I hope you're having a great week and continue to try to beat the heat and stay safe. And remember, if there's a fair near you, hey, check it out. Always fun. And if not, hey, doesn't mean you can't have a fair life. So enjoy. I'll see you next week. Take care.